Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Full Court Press Podcast with LT and Sammy D. This is the podcast that brings you legendary stories from college basketball's golden era and dives in deep with a current analysis of today's game. Get ready for the most energetic and entertaining college basketball podcast around. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome to another Full Court Press Podcast, a college basketball experience. And Sam, I'm here with you, LT, Sammy D, and I just want to sing a song. Georgia. We got Georgia State
version.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Ray Charles would be very, very disappointed at that.
Yeah. You know, the good thing is he has to hear me, he can't see me. So that's one out of the two. I think it's good for him. But we got Jonas Hayes of Georgia State University on the Full Court Press, and we are excited because we got the ATL. We're going to talk a little Outcast, little Goody Mob. We're going to talk Panther basketball. We're going to have some fun. Coach, welcome.
You know what? I thank you guys for having me. Anytime I get a chance to speak and spread the gospel of Georgia State basketball is unbelievable for me.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it. And you've been busy this summer. Like I'm looking at some of the transitions and some of the newcomers on the team. Like, what's the summer been like for you?
It has been all over the place. I think our staff has done a great job of putting this roster together, number one. But it's a lot of moving parts, man. There's a lot of moving parts. We got 10 new guys. We got a couple of new staff members and graduate assistants, and it's just been breakneck speed. But we've all taken it in stride. I think we all have a phenomenal opportunity here, and I'm just thankful that we have a chance to get basketball started here shortly, and get to competing here in a little bit.
Yeah, and he's got some ball players coming back and some ball players coming in, and the one I'm really excited about because I live in Mac country is Zachary Nutter from NIU, average about just under 14 a game.
Yeah,
you got some players coming in, boy.
I'll tell you what, he is. I'll be honest with you, he is going to be an unbelievable addition. He can score it in many different ways. And Zarik, he's phenomenal. Like today in practice, he was making plays, and I'm like, my jaw is dropping. He is a super talented, super physical, 6'6", 205-pound guard, and I'm really excited to see him blossom in what we have going on down here.
Hey Sam, you know what's funny? He said jaw-dropping plays he's never seen. Obviously, he didn't think his brother's a ball player.
Well, you know what? It's been a minute. It's been a minute. When I talk about I haven't seen, I'm only talking in the perspective of me being a head coach. I've seen a lot of great basketball.
Yeah. So a guy like Zarik, who's like putting up more than 15 points a game last year at another school, another conference, all that. Like, what's that conversation like him? Like, what is that kind of recruiting pitch to come down to Atlanta, come play under your team at Georgia State? Like, what kind of culture you guys are building down there? Like, what's
Sam? Have you ever been to DeKalb, Illinois?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's all you got to say. Huh? The ATL or DeKalb.
Yeah.
So number one,
ATL.
Number one, Atlanta sells itself. But we got in contact with Zarik when we found out he was in the portal. And we just sold him on the opportunity. And you get a guy that's that talented who chose Georgia State over, many other options. But I thought we created a rock solid relationship and a connection throughout the portal. And he felt comfortable, he and his family and his people, to bring him down here. And we couldn't be more fortunate. That's why I was telling Luke a minute ago. And that in this transactional world that we all living in now, you try as best you can in this whole sped up world of recruiting to be intentional in your connecting with these guys. And so that's what we've done with this entire roster. And Zarik has decided to join us, and we're all the better for it.
Yeah.
And then a guy I'm excited about. I mean, I follow the D2s, I follow the JUCO guys like Darnell Evans. Like, I mean, you got to be excited that guy's, putting on a Georgia State jersey. Yeah. I'm sure he got looks from a lot of people putting up almost 24 points a game last year in D2's Caldwell.
I'm excited about it. I don't know if you guys familiar with A Bug's Life? Is a Pixar
for sure.
We got kids. Hell yeah,
I
we
got kids.
kids.
It's all good.
Listen to me.
No, you've got kid. I got kid.
Hey, listen to me. He's about the size of Flick, but he is a baller. He is a baller. I couldn't be more excited. But yeah, he's a small package, but he packs a big old bark.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that comparison. People say, "Have you ever seen the movie Shrek?" Donkey. But you've got, I mean, you've got some guys coming in. You got Justin Archer from Radford, just under double digits there. You got Jelani Hamilton from Iowa State, Malachi Brown from Seton Hall, Nick McMullen from UNC Asheville. You got Mo State, Cesar Edwards. You know, you got Lane coming back. I mean, how do you kind of build a culture quickly, let alone get these guys to understand there's only one basketball?
Yeah, so the one thing we tried to strive, especially this summer when we got our guys back on campus in June, we wanted to get together with our camaraderie and our connecting, because we're getting people from all over the place, come from different programs, different walks of life. And so what we really focused on in June and July, as well as basketball, don't get me wrong, we didn't just overlook basketball, but I wanted to get our guys feeling good about each other, knowing each other. And so building a level of camaraderie that will allow us to play good basketball together. And so we've used, the last 4 weeks in July to kind of implement our system from a holistic standpoint in team practices. And we just carried that over from a philosophical standpoint, basketball standpoint in August. But I try as best the way I can is put our guys all on the same page, getting these guys pulling in the same direction, knowing each other's story. Right, because everyone has a story, so I wanted to get everybody on the same page from a connecting standpoint, so we can allow that to carry over on the basketball court.
Yeah.
What's it like coaching with your brother and you guys?
Why'd you hesitate, Sam? Why'd you hesitate?
I mean, clearly, you guys have a good relationship. You guys played together.
We don't know that. You don't know they have a good relationship.
Well, they keep wanting to hang around each other. I'll put it that way.
It can be safely assumed that we have a phenomenal relationship.
Yeah.
But I never imagined we would have the opportunity to work together. And so you asked me that question when it's almost like an opportunity comes up that you never even envisioned ever happening. And so when my athletic director, Charlie Cobb, brought it to my attention that we was going to be able to stay together, I said, hell yeah, let's do it. And he's been phenomenal for us. He has a different lens through which he looks at basketball and views basketball, given his experiences. And I've been very fortunate to be able to lean on that experience with our guys, because everybody wants to play at the level he played at, and he was one of the top players in the world. And when you got that well of information that you can pull from, hell, why not? And then get to boot, he's bloodly related to me. We kind of look alike, and
kind of.
Wait, how do we know we're not talking to Jarvis right now?
You don't know, are you? You don't know.
Have you guys done that before?
I was just getting ready to say we did switch, and I hope people at Usher Middle School back in the day, we had our math teacher by the name of Mrs. Grace Taylor, and I had a social studies teacher named Miss Dennis. And Jarvis said, "Man, I don't know what I'm gonna do on this math test from Miss Taylor." And so I said, "Jarvis, okay, you go to Miss Dennis, and I go to Miss Taylor." And 5 minutes into the class, Miss Taylor saying, "Jonas, you're not doing that today." And so she made me go she didn't get us in trouble, because we had pretty good relationships with our teachers. But we tried that one time, and it didn't go off well. So we was kind of scared to do it again.
You should do it at a press conference.
You know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna keep that in my back pocket.
Yeah.
What was it like? Kind of. So you were born in Atlanta. You know, like what was that kind of situation like growing up, you know, playing basketball? It's obviously like in your DNA, you know, you kind of bounce around to where you played. And then, you know, entering the coaching ranks, you know, you end up at Xavier. And then has it always been a goal to come back to Atlanta?
Yeah, to be honest with you, Sam, it's always been a goal, Sam, to come back to Atlanta, but you never ever envision your first opportunity to be head coach, you back in Atlanta. So yeah, we was born and raised in Atlanta. Jarvis and I, we're the youngest of 5. We always played pickup with our older siblings and all their friends. So we kind of got our knees scraped up, elbows scraped up from a very early age. I can remember us 10, 12 years old, we playing with teenagers. 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. And so we kind of like got our teeth kicked in. We kind of got our sucker punch, gut punch, kicked and all. And so we kind of got the toughness from playing against older guys. And obviously Jarvis and I wanted to go to school together. But the weird thing about our recruitment, only 3 schools were recruiting us together. And Jarvis was a highly rated player coming out of high school. A lot of people.
Who were the 3 schools?
I get to that in a minute, Luke. You
okay, sorry. How do you think I am the night before Christmas?
And so only 3 schools were recruiting us. A lot of people didn't really give me credit for the type of work ethic I had, and people didn't think I was going to turn out to be the player that I became. And you know, Jarvis had all the Northeast schools. He had Villanova, Georgetown recruiting them. The only 3 schools that was recruiting the both of us was Western Carolina out of Cullowhee, North Carolina, Jacksonville State out of Alabama, and we had Mercer out of Macon, Georgia, Mercer University. The only high major university that was recruiting me was Clemson at the time, but for some odd reason they wasn't recruiting my brother. So we end up going to Western Carolina, and Jarvis led the league in scoring as a freshman. He was freshman of the year. And I had a really good freshman campaign. I led the league in field goal percentage. I averaged probably 8, 9 points and 5 or 6 rebounds as a freshman.
8.6.
Yeah, something like that. And at the time, after the year, the coaches, Phil Hopkins, who was an unbelievable man, God rest his soul, they didn't renew his contract. And so we decided to transfer. And so at that time, everybody in the country wanted the both of us, but we all Jarvis and I and our family made a decision. We wanted to come back to the state of Georgia, is what we said, could be back close to our family, so our family can share in that experience with us. And only 2 options, Georgia and Georgia Tech. We didn't want to stay at the same level, so if we won't have an opportunity to go up a level, we won't use this opportunity now. And I will say this: a lot of people don't believe this. If Coach Hopkins would have never been relieved of his duties at Western Carolina, Jarvis and I would have graduated from Western Carolina. We didn't. So I'm putting just how our family was raised, how we were raised. I went to 1 elementary school. I went to 1 middle school, went to 1 high school. So we didn't even have it in our minds that we were going to go to Western Carolina and leave. That was the place we chose, and we was going to stick it out through thick and thin.
Yeah, but Coach, here's the problem. In today's age, you wouldn't have been successful because you got to go to like 5 middle schools, 6 high schools, and 3 colleges.
Like, how crazy is that? Some of the guys like
AAU program.
Yeah, they're moving all over the time, and it's like, I mean, you and your brother would have been a package NIL deal.
Yeah. And so we did that, and the best thing that ever could have happened to me was that we ended up going to University of Georgia, got connected with a lot of great people, Coach Herrick and the University of Georgia that whole behemoth of that support system. And I went off and had a great career. I knew I was wanting to coach immediately after I graduated. So I had started my high school. Again, I pulled myself up. I started in the mud, started in the dirt. I started below the dirt, y'all. Not to say my high school was the dirt, but I was making $2,000 a year, and I only got paid at the end of the year, right? So started my high school. I was in the building, so I got connected with, I wasn't a teacher, but I was in the building. Went to Morehouse College, Division II. Then left Morehouse College, went to Division I. My first Division I assistant coach job was at South Carolina State. I stayed there for a half year. I don't want to get into the details of why, that didn't work out. But I coached AAU basketball for a summer. Started at Belmont Abbey in 2007. Stayed there 5 years. Got my break at the University of Georgia in 2012. 2012 or 13. Yeah, 2012 in May, Well, Coach Fox decided to hire me back at Georgia as an operations coordinator, which is basically the director of basketball operations assistant. Then I got promoted, was there for another 5 years as an assistant, went to Xavier for 4 years. And, we caught lightning in the bottle when the Xavier administration decided to move on from my head coach, decided to name me interim head coach.
Wait, what was his name? Coach Travis Steele?
Travis Steele, absolutely.
So he was our first ever guest on this show.
He's phenomenal.
And he's the only guest or person we know that got fired after a win.
I've never heard of it, right? And so it was kind of a shocker when that happened. And I was thrust in a position where I was the head coach. And a lot of times people say, oh, yeah, I'm the head coach. I'm going to change everything. I'm going to put my imprint on it. I didn't have that mentality. Coach Steele had worked his tail off to put us in a position where we can win a championship, albeit it's the NIT, but he worked his tail off. And our guys were already in a mindset of we know what was going on. We knew what we were doing. We just had to keep moving forward. And I immediately had the mindset that I'm called at this particular point in time to land this plane. It's not about Jonas Hayes. It's about giving these kids the proper experience to allow them, the chance to compete for a championship. And that's what happens. Well, Rob Lanier, the old coach at Georgia State, he gets another job during our NIT run. And I get an opportunity at this. And mind you, you talk about perseverance, you talk about, staying the course and never losing faith in yourself. I had applied for 9 jobs prior to this one, right? All of them said no, you guys. And the opportunity I had to coach in NIT was kind of sort of it was an interview
for sure.
And of all the places that I thought God would have me land and have my first head coaching job be, Atlanta was not on my. You have a vision board. Atlanta wasn't on my list. Being in the city of Atlanta, and for that to happen. In my city, for Charlie Cobb and Brian Blake to give me an opportunity to be the head coach in my home city, that is phenomenal, and you can't make it up. You can't make that up.
Well, what were the interviews like in that? Because you want the job so bad. Obviously, I mean, it's you want to be a head coach first of all, but second of all, to be in your hometown. What were those interviews like? Was it a lot of like butterflies, a lot of nerves? Was it a lot of just uncomfortability? Like, what was that like?
And also, like you said, you applied to these other jobs. That when you applied to those other jobs, that was before you went 4-0 in the NIT, right?
Yeah, this was years. This was 2 or 3 years. Over a 3-year span, I interviewed for 9 jobs.
Did you think? And I want you to respond to LT's question, but during that, after you finish and you win the NIT as associate head coach who has moved into that role, are you thinking I'm going to get other opportunities that may be a little bigger than Georgia State?
Okay. Because it's almost like a mutual level of loyalty and trust. Mm-hmm. Charlie Cobb and Brian Blake and Georgia State decided, you know what, we're going to give this guy a chance. And I'm not one of them guys to play Russian roulette with anything. And so I'm always going to take the bird in my hand, and I don't look in the other bush. Because you'll lose a great opportunity you have thinking you want to get a better one. No. And this it felt right in my spirit, and that's why I know we're on to something, because I have this deep conviction, deep level of trust that we're on to something here, and I didn't want to play around with it. I never had the mindset, okay, let's see what else we can get. No. I don't play Russian roulette like that.
Yeah. So tell us about Atlanta basketball.
Yeah.
Tell me about the city Atlanta basketball. We know about the Hawks. We know about the human highlight film. We know about Spud Webb, Moses Malone, obviously some guy that played at Oklahoma. Yeah. Tell me about height. And we had, I told you, we had a coach, Amir, and he was talking about his brother's recruitment and just back in the day. Give us a glimpse of what Atlanta high school, AU, college basketball is like.
I'm going to tell you this. Now, the people that know old Atlanta, I'm going to name a street where, a lot of people, it doesn't exist. They changed the name on it. But we used to spend a lot of time on Stewart Avenue at the Run and Shoot all times of night playing basketball with people twice our age. I can remember when we were in high school, I got 4 siblings. It's 5 of us total, and we would have our own 5 running playing pickup at the South Card Rec Center. We used to come play pickup in our old arena here at Georgia State. I'll tell you what, the state of Georgia, it hadn't always gotten the reputation of producing elite basketball until the age of the internet and social media. Because you could talk about the guys that I went to school with. You talking about the Jeffrey Newtons, the AJ Moyes. You talking about the Omar Selimances. You talk about the Jarvis Hayeses. Those guys, the Darnell Harveys. They end up going to Florida. The Rodney Tuckers that end up going to Florida State. Those guys are some talented individuals that didn't get the notoriety because the proliferation of social media and all, it wasn't what it is today. And what the basketball back in the day, you have all these workout guys. They do a phenomenal job, but we didn't have workout guys, whether we couldn't afford them or not. We just played. We just get into a gym. We just played. And my brother and I, we was fortunate enough to play with the Georgia Stars, Team Georgia at the time with Al Outlaw, Georgia Stars. You had Norman Parker. We had a cup of coffee with the Celtics. And so we played with all these teams, Marietta Mavens, the Smyrna Star. And so the AAU basketball then, it was kind of under recruited because you just didn't know. Everybody went to New York, everybody went to Texas, everybody went to Florida. But I tell you what, the level of high school basketball here, the level of grassroots attention that is being placed upon basketball in the state of Georgia, it's no surprise you'll continue to see high level people come out of the state. Number one, 2 things. People are moving here because they want to be in the city of Atlanta. They want to be in the state. But the grassroots and the developmental basketball in the state has improved a great deal. And I don't think that's an area that doesn't get as much credit and notoriety as it should, I think.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to get some more inroads because he is an elite recruiter by being nice to the AAU coaches.
Nice. I mean, all right. So you're a good coach. Put together your all-time Georgia starting 5.
University of Georgia or
people who grew up and came out of Georgia.
I would have Jarvis Hayes as my I have Jarvis Hayes as my wing. I have Dwight Howard as one of my posts. I would also have, let's see. Sharif Abdur-Rahim as my other post. That's a 4-man.
That's ridiculous, that team right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who needs 2 guards?
I would probably have Ant-Man somewhere. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope got to be in somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Brogdon got to be in there in some place.
Like I just looked up like best players to come from the state of Georgia, and I was just blown away.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. Like you look at like basketball, you think of New York City, Chicago, Southern California. It's the same as kind of like hip hop. You got East Coast, West Coast. I'm an Outkast fan myself.
So am I.
Yeah, I've seen him in concert. And it was the only time I've been to a concert where I thought the floor was gonna like fall in.
Yes,
I mean, it's at the House of Blues upstairs, and I mean, it was like they played Bombs Over Baghdad, and it was like, and then Rosa Parks came on right after. I'm like, okay, this is great. But it doesn't get, and I think now that you have social media, I think it gets the attention it deserves to a certain extent. But I mean, Sam and I, we played against we were in Georgia before. I got remember my Phillies retro baseball T-shirt. We got that somewhere from somewhere
down.
Let's
not talk about the Phillies. Let's not talk about the Phillies.
No. I just like the colors and the logo. It's not. We're not talking baseball. I'm just saying that there's this really cool like sports like retro shop. It had jerseys and shirts, and I remember getting that. But that was right after the Coca-Cola museum. But how does the Sun Belt look this year?
You know what? I tell you what, the Sun Belt, especially when you've added the teams, you got Marshall, you got JMU, you got James Madison, you got Southern Miss, and you got ODU. Those are basketball-centric schools, even though they have successful football programs too. But I tell you what, this league is underrated in its own right on the basketball front. And when you talk about there's no easy outs. The level of physicality in this league is underrated. The level of skill in this league is underrated. The level of coaching in this league is underrated. And we're going to have, it's shaping up to be a phenomenal year. I think it's going to be a phenomenal year for Georgia State, but it's also going to, I think it's shaping up to be a banner year again for the Sun Belt Conference. And overall, I'm just fortunate. It's almost like a mini SEC in terms of the physicality, the old SEC, the physicality of it. But the skill is something that's very underrated.
Yeah.
So he just said the SEC is not physical anymore. Too many weak guys in there.
No, I didn't say that.
That's what I heard.
We're not going to disagree with you. No, we love watching Sun Belt basketball. I mean, it's guys who have a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like what we see, and it's every game people are playing hard.
I tell you another thing though. This is an old league because this is we get a lot of transfers. You get a lot of old teams, and you look at our team. We got 6 fifth-year seniors, right? And
that's crazy. That's unheard of.
That's unheard of. But the difference is just they all here 1 year, so we got to mesh all these parts coming from different areas into one mold quickly as possible. We got old guys. We do.
Is that strategic on your part to put experience on the court and in the locker room?
Yeah, we got to build a little bit of both. We won't ever abandon high school because we always want to get elite high school players, but we do try to balance that youth with experience, and that is strategic.
Yeah. I mean, I love a guy like Nick McMullen who, I mean, he just has like winning in his DNA because he came from UNC Asheville, so he brings that kind of like
before that.
Right. So he brings that kind of winning mentality to the locker room, to the practice, to the court. So
yeah, that's 1,000% a part of our thought process.
Yeah, and the Sun Belt Conference is a really good conference, really good coaches, really good players. And I would argue that the Sun Belt should get 2 bids every year, whether it's the regular season and the tournament champion or what have you. Because I mean, you look at Appalachian State, James Madison knocked off Michigan State last year, which was nuts. Yeah, and I mean, you've got Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. I mean, the list can go on. You guys, I mean, it's just it's always been a really good, like, high to major-ish league, and it deserves.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this with other coaches, and this last week or two, even if they expanded the tournament, it's not going to help the Sun Belt.
It won't. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. But we're a no excuses program. We're going to do what we have to do to get our names called on Selection Sunday, and we'll run over anybody. We'll run through any wall to get that happen, to make that happen. And we're a no excuses program. We're going to get it done.
Yeah, Sam, let's give him some questions that he has no excuses on. You want to set up for me, Sammy?
Yeah, for sure. So, Coach, we do a little thing called the shot clock here on the Full Court Press podcast. LT is going to fire off 5, 6, maybe 7 questions, depending on how he's feeling. Yep. And first thing that comes to mind, just let it rip. And if it leads to a story, we got all the time in the world. So you just feel free to just let loose anything you want to share. LT, let's get it.
And if you go too long, we're going to charge you for therapy. We've had to do that with other coaches. One word to describe Georgia State.
Sleeping giant.
Okay, that's 2 words, but that's fine.
Put a hyphen in, and it's 1 word.
Yeah, we'll hyphen everything. 1 word to describe the Sun Belt.
Tough.
I like that. Your spirit animal.
Ooh, a lion.
Okay.
Mufasa. Mufasa. You're a Leo birthday too, right?
Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah, I can feel it.
Good. That's crazy. You see the research we do. We even know when your birthday is. If you were a candle scent, what candle scent would you be?
Leather.
I like it. Coach Amir said gunpowder.
I don't know how to take that one. I was alone with him. Sam wasn't there, and I'm like, gunpowder. I'm like, all right, let's go to the next question. Yeah. Funniest recruiting story, either you being recruited or you recruiting somebody. Give me a funny recruiting story. Give us a funny recruiting story.
I tell you what, I'm not going to use any names. I'm gonna just it's one of my first recruiting experiences when I was back at Morehouse, and we sitting in the ladies, and it's my recruit. We're sitting in recruits' living room for in-home visit, And I've just been calling this lady, hey, Miss Jones, this. We really love your son, Miss Jones. Miss Jones this, Miss Jones that. And at the end, and we was over there about an hour and a half. And this is probably not funny. It's probably embarrassing. I probably shouldn't say, but it's one of my first opportunities. And she said, you know what, Coach Jonas, you've been calling me Miss Jones this whole time. I don't think you realize my last name is Mrs. Wright. And you should have seen my head coach looked at me with the stare of death, and I couldn't have been more small in that situation. So I guess that's the one I want to share with you guys. It's kind of crazy. I didn't.
Yeah. More importantly, did you get the kid?
We end up getting them. Yeah, we end up getting them.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's funny. Favorite arena you played in?
Favorite arena that I've played in, I would probably have to say Rupp Arena, because I won now, shutting them people down when I played. I can give you another one. Down in Florida was good, but if I had to name one, it was very special to play in Rupp.
Okay. Toughest arena to coach in?
My Lord. Now, just my head coaching career goes back to
it could be both.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Arkansas is one tough place to play. But
Yeah.
They're going to be electric this year, at least the start of the year. So.
Well, Sam, you seem real positive about the Razorbacks this year. If you played another brother tandem in pickup, who would it be and what would the score be?
Another brother tandem pickup.
And it has to be coaches. I can name you a couple coaches right now. You got the Hurleys, you got the Drews. Who else we got?
He see what you're doing. See what you're doing.
He can play.
Who
Travis
else we got?
Steele.
Hurleys, Drews, the Millers. You got Steele and Gross.
Yeah, that's what it'd be. Steele and Gross.
Yeah.
They would score a bucket. They would score a bucket. They wouldn't score a bucket. I have Gross would be guarding me, Steele a guard Jarvis. They wouldn't get a bucket.
I love it.
How do you think you guys would do against the Hurleys?
We'll both be tough now. I want Danny. I want to guard Danny.
Yeah, that'd be a physical game.
Yeah, it will be a physical game.
That'd be not only physical, it'd be intense.
Yeah.
I think the Hurleys would just end up yelling at each other.
Bobby, why'd you guard him? Danny, get him. Take it. Oh, my God. All right. The song that best resembles you.
Ooh. I'm a little conflicted on that, but I would have to go with T.I.'s Motivation.
Okay.
Ooh, I like that.
He went to my high school. I'm supporting my high school, baby.
Good one.
Oh my God. You guys are about the same age, aren't you?
Yeah, we went to school. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's funny to probably see these guys, maybe not athletes so much, but like musicians and stuff. You see him, he's like, I remember him, and now he's like, it's T.I.
Yeah.
You know? All right. So they're doing what's that, Sam?
Clifford Harris.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah. Tip.
So where'd he get T.I. from?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
T.I., whatever. Okay. I wish I went to high school with Big Boy. Okay. So they're doing a movie about your life.
Yep.
Okay. What would the title be of the movie and who would play you?
I don't want to sound all Martin Luther Kingish, but it'll be Servant Leadership. And I don't know who would play me. My brother would play me. Jarvis would play me.
Sounds like a low budget film.
It probably will be.
That's great. What is so you call it servant leadership? Tell me a little bit of. I mean, I feel like there's some background there. You know, like, what does that mean to you?
It means like, 'cause I'm all big on the type of energy you give off, and I have personal meetings with our guys, and I'm always aware. I got you can't see my board back here, my whiteboard, but every job I've had for the last 20 years, I've always had this one quote on my whiteboard, and it simply says you need to always be aware of the energy you bring into the space. And so, the energy you give off is kind of sort of the energy you're looking for. And the energy you give off, and that's what you're looking for, that energy is also looking for you. And so we had a day of service yesterday, and it's kind of quite applicable to the conversation we have now. We walked around and we introduced ourselves, and we experienced the day with the people in Atlanta that's dealing with homelessness. And I would tell our guys, you need to always be aware. You never look down on a man unless you're there to come pick him up. But the energy you give to people in their time of need, God and this whole universe has a way of turning tables on you. And while your time of need may not be as severe as those, there's going to come a point in time in your life where you're going to have to ask for help. You're going to have to ask people, do you see me? Or do I exist? And you're going to have to have some people to help you. Where if the energy you've given off to other people has been one of, love, where you can expect to get love back, where it's been one of confusion and ignorance, well, that's what you're going to get back. And so for me, I'm always mindful of how I treat people and the energy I give off. And because at some point in time, the boomerang effect, that thing is going to come circle back around to you. And I'm just always aware of that. So that's kind of how I live my life, try to at least.
Fantastic.
I get all philosophical with it. I felt like
we becoming a servant leader, or being there's definitely that mentality there, and absolutely. It's like we hear kind of similarities with coaching and mentorship as well. I mean, you guys are mentors first to these kids,
I did just take y'all to church, so I need to pass the collection plate around.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, is that your NIL fund?
Yes.
I mean, you guys were ball players, and I mean, you guys, and what have you, and your brother played in the league for some time. What do you guys like? I mean, is there ever conversations with your brother? I know I asked Amir about talking to Sharif about it, but was there ever been like conversations just kind of low key about NIL and how it is and how it's kind of changed the game?
Absolutely. It's changed the game tremendously because people don't play the game at our level no more strictly for the love. And Jarvis, my brother, can even tell you this, he got to the league, but that wasn't his goal. He just loved the game and he got better at it. And that was a byproduct. And people always look at the destination and they forget about the journey. It's who you become on the journey that makes the most difference. My brother became a pro on his journey in basketball. He didn't have a destination, at the NBA or making money, right? And so now NIL has kind of changed the game. These guys play because they want to make money. They don't play because they love it, and so they don't get as good as they want to be because they're looking at the end result. They want to get money, and it's just a part of our whole deal now. And so that's why we have to be especially, responsible in who we add. Yeah, we're going to participate in NIL, but we still want to have our guys experience what it means to be a collegiate athlete, and we got to win games. And having the highest paid roster don't guarantee you can win games because you don't have a team that's committed to playing together. And so it's added a different element to it, but we're figuring it out.
You want to talk about the New York Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, either one of them. Right.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we really appreciate you're going to stick on with us for a second or two more as we upload, but we really appreciate, talking to Coach Jonas and hearing your kind of your background and really excited for Georgia State this year in the Sun Belt Conference.
Georgia State, man. Yeah, you've reworked your roster, and you guys are going to be that sleeping giant in the Sun Belt. So I don't think it's going to be a secret for too long here, though.
I appreciate it. Keep throwing that into the atmosphere, baby. I'm receiving all of that.
Yeah. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like I said, follow Coach Hayes and his twin brother in the Georgia State University basketball program this year in the Sun Belt. We'll be back next week on the Full Court Press podcast, a college basketball experience.
Let's get it.
Let's go.